I have participated in 2 of Clinton Jones' 5 community. I think you get the drill by now. Let's talk about what I've done this week. This week, I decided to start working on the animation. I finalized the model of the car, and while the textures aren't complete, they are in a point where I'm fine with moving on to the animation, so I jumped straight into it. My actual rig for the car was super basic. I used Off-Road, which is a Blender rig generator, to rig up the car, and then I spent the next few days kinda nailing down the animation. First and foremost, I wanted to make sure that the chassis rolled when it drifted into the scene, as well as I wanted it to swerve kind of side to side as it went through the scene to kind of mimic what I'm going to have the character doing once I've placed the character in it. Using Blender's built-in Pyro Solver, I was able to do a fairly okay exhaust simulation that didn't take too long to bake. I was actually able to bring it down to just 64 voxels, which, if you know anything about smoke simulations, isn't actually that high. However, since this exhaust simulation is going to be a small part on the camera, I didn't need it to be super high detailed, so it saved me a little bit of render time there. I wanted the exhaust to be coming out of both of the exhausts, but not exactly, spitting out fire the entire time. So what I was able to do was animate the flame's temperature using a noise modifier in order to get some kind of spurts that come out, and the rest being just smoke. I think when final render time comes, I might go ahead and bump the voxel size back up to 128, but for now I'm pretty happy with the results, and so I decided to finally move into the compositing step. I set up very basic composite for all the different render layers that come out of my Blender file, and I got a result that looks like this. Now obviously this is pretty noisy, and that's the great thing about render layers. I was able to track down and nail exactly what was causing all this noise, and it turned out to be my volumes. I was able to simply denoise the volume layer and leave all the other layers as is. Something that's been on the back of my mind since I really started nailing down other aspects of this project was the speed of the car. This has been a problem since the challenge first began, but the original Blender file, which is the one that I used, had the speed of the vehicle moving very fast. And unfortunately, when I reduced it initially, I reduced it by about 20%, I believe, and that still just has the car speeding through the environment at probably 70 to 100 miles per hour. And so I finally decided, well, what if I just slow it down and see what that looks like? So here's a side-by-side comparison of 2 different renders that I made, one with the car being slow and one with the car being the speed that I had already set up. On one hand, I actually really like the movement of this car. I feel like it feels a lot more natural in the slowed version. However, you're seeing a lot less of the environment that I crafted, and I'm not sure if I like that. Finally, this coming week, it all comes to nailing down everything that we've done so far. I'm going to go ahead and finalize my animation, as well as I really need to decide whether or not I do like this slow version or I want the faster version. There are a few more additions to the environment that I'm going to add in this final version. However, I want to keep those a secret for the final render, so you'll have to stay tuned for when that's done. And then after that, all that's left is the final color grade and compositing, and we will be fully finished with this render. I can't wait to finish this out and see everyone else's renders as well. Did you know that I have a tutorial channel? Level Up Plus VFX is a tutorial channel that I made where I go over some really interesting techniques that I use in Blender to make some of my renders pop the way that they do. If you're interested in learning about that, or if you want to learn the basics of Nuke, go ahead and get subscribed. Tomorrow, I'm going to be releasing a tutorial where I teach you how to make a crowd simulation using AI-generated models, and it's a really fun simulation to set up, and you can do a lot of different things with that. So, if that piques your interest, go ahead and give it a watch. Either way, I've been Scouty, and I'll see you guys in the next one.